From starting her modeling career when she was just 5 years old to the shocking number of languages she speaks, here's 12 things you didn't know about Melania Trump.
Everyone knows that she's a big-time model, but not many people know that she started her career at just 5 years old. Her mom worked as a designer at a clothing factory, which wasn't exactly glamorous in Soviet Yugoslavia, but it still gave Melania a chance to strut her stuff on the catwalk. When her mom needed someone to model her prints, she decided to give her 5-year-old daughter a try, and Melania took to it like a duck to water. There are photos of her modeling dating back to 1977. So she was clearly a natural, but as she grew older, she began to have bigger dreams. For a while, she wanted to become a designer. From the moment she could draw, Melania started sketching new prints and patterns for her mom to sew. And when she turned 18, she decided to channel her creative talents into a new field, architecture. She even took a year of classes at the University of Ljubljana, which was the biggest institution in her native country. Of course, modeling was bound to be a sweeter gig, so when she started picking up work in Milan and Paris, she decided to abandon architecture and design and focus on modeling full-time instead. In a way, this was a pretty fateful choice because one day, the owner of a modeling agency decided to bring her to New York. Little did she know, this fashion mogul was friends with the one and only Donald Trump, and he helped bring the two together all those years ago. Donald and Melania hit it off almost immediately, but it wasn't always smooth sailing. You see, it took her about 10 years to become a U.S. citizen. She first moved to the U.S. in 1996 when her modeling career brought her to the glittering lights of New York City. The thing is, America doesn't just hand out citizenship to anyone who asks for it. There's a long and grueling process you need to get through, and Melania had to wait 5 years just to get her green card. Her and Trump started dating in 1998, but it wasn't until 2006 that she finally became a citizen. That was when she married Donald, paving the path to citizenship at long last. And let me tell you, their wedding was a massive event. Like, even Hillary Clinton was on the guest list. Yep, Donald's eventual political rival attended his wedding, and her husband Bill was right there with her. All in all, about 350 people showed up to watch the couple tie the knot, and since Donald Trump was one of the biggest business moguls in the country, it makes sense that America's longtime first couple would show up too. Even so, I doubt anyone could have predicted that the newlyweds would take their place in the White House someday. After all, Melania hadn't even become a citizen yet, but the wedding set the stage for her to become one of the most unique first ladies in American history. For starters, she's just the second first lady born outside the U.S. Technically speaking, John Quincy Adams' wife, Louisa, was the first foreign-born first lady because she was native to England. Melania, on the other hand, was born in Soviet Yugoslavia in an area that eventually became modern-day Slovenia. That's way more exotic than England, if you ask me, especially when you consider how recent America's independence was in Louisa's day. Yeah, Melania broke a lot of new ground as first lady, because before her, every first lady spoke English as their first language. And while Melania's English is practically perfect, it's not exactly her first language now, is it? What's more, she's the first to be born in a communist country, the first naturalized U.S. citizen to live in the White House, and I've still just scratched the surface. Now, it's not just her Slovenian roots that set her apart. She also joined Michelle Obama and Eleanor Roosevelt as the tallest first lady ever. Standing at an impressive 5'11", Melania would have towered over some U.S. presidents. Like Teddy Roosevelt, Dwight Eisenhower, and Jimmy Carter, all would have looked tiny next to her. And apart from Michelle and Eleanor, no other first lady comes close either. Don't get me wrong, she brought a lot more to the table than her height and an exotic native country. In fact, she might just be one of the most popular first ladies of all time. One thing's for sure, she was way more popular than her husband. Look, I'm talking pure numbers here. And if you look at the statistics, Donald Trump really struggled with his approval ratings throughout his presidency. The same can't be said for Melania though, because according to a CNN poll, Her approval rating was as high as 57%. People clearly liked having someone like her in the White House, because apart from her undeniable sense of style, she also participated in some genuinely positive philanthropic endeavors. Donald was lucky to have her because she always made him look good when he needed it. That kind of explains her Secret Service nickname as well. Get this, the Secret Service used to call her Muse. In case you don't know, the agency tasked with protecting the first family assigns code names to each member. Bill Clinton was called Eagle. Barack Obama got the name Renegade, and they called Donald Mogul. As for their wives, the Secret Service usually gave them names that started with the same letters as their husbands. For example, Hillary Clinton was Evergreen. Michelle Obama was Renaissance. And of course, Melania got the best name of all, with Muse. This kind of captures the way she inspired her husband during his challenging presidency. And that's not the only thing she did either. Did you know that Melania's a hands-on parent? You'd think that the wife of a billionaire would let a nanny take care of the parenting, but that's clearly not the approach that Melania preferred. I'm not surprised that Donald let her handle that stuff, because he had a country to run, and before that, an international business empire. But I have to give credit where it's due. It would have been impossible for him to manage everything if Melania hadn't held down the fort. Now, before you start thinking she's just a mom, Melania's lived a pretty colorful and exciting life. She might be settling down now, but she literally had a cameo role in Zoolander back in 2001. It's probably one of my favorite movies of all time, which is why I remember Melania and Donald's blink and you'll miss it appearance. She doesn't have any lines because the whole scene is about Donald defending Derek Zoolander, but that didn't stop her from having a surprisingly strong screen presence. This was decades ago, back when Melania and Donald's relationship was still new, so I'm glad that she lived the high life for as long as she could. You might think that she spent her life partying, especially given how she was at the center of New York's fashion scene in the 90s. But the truth is, she prefers to enjoy a quiet night at home. That's actually pretty surprising, considering her husband's love for the nightlife, but it kind of makes sense if you think about it. I mean, she literally lived in the White House for 4 years, and the whole world wanted to watch her every move, but she only ever showed up when she had something important to say. It's kind of unusual for a president's spouse to be so under the radar, but that added a lot of mystery and allure to Melania's public persona, and it obviously worked, because the approval ratings don't lie. Honestly, some people got kind of mean about her desire for privacy, even saying that she stayed behind the scenes because she wasn't smart enough to contribute anything. I beg to differ, because Melania's way smarter than people give her credit for. Like, you'll never guess how many languages she speaks. Most people speak one language, and if they're lucky, they'll know a few words in a second language. A small minority speak 2 languages fluently, and if you've wrapped your head around 3, congratulations. You're in an exclusive club. Just know that Melania still blows you out of the water. The former First Lady speaks Slovene and English, of course. But apart from that, she's fluent in French and Italian as well. As if that wasn't enough, she can also hold a conversation in German and Serbo-Croatian. The next time someone tries to suggest that Melania's dumb, just remind them she speaks about 6 languages, which is probably way more than they could ever learn. So, from the surprising number of languages she speaks to starting her modeling career when she was just 5 years old, these were things you didn't know about Melania Trump.